Oh, you'll have to. Oh, you'll have to. Oh, bear with me a little minute. I'm not really planned this too much. Bear with me a little minute. I'm not really planned this too much. So. Yeah, I had to have a bit of a surgical a bit of a surgical thing yesterday. Hope you well. Just you well. Yeah, I had to go to hospital yesterday and have a spinal injection. Oh yeah, you liking it, are you? I had basically my discs in my backs have collapsed. So I had an accident about 6 or 8 weeks ago at work, and ever since then I've been having trouble with my back. So they've had to go and do some X-ray scans and MRI scans and stuff like that, and it's not looking good. So they've given me an injection in my back to help cope with the pain. And they're going to see how that goes, and if that don't go work, it looks like surgery on the bottom of my back to pin it all together. So yeah, it's good, isn't it, when they go to the same school as well as you. You know, especially when you're moving from one to other. Some of them go off to different schools, don't they? And well, they do around here. It's nice when some of them are still with you. You know, they move up to the same school as what you went to. Well, it is. Are you at school now then? Oh no, it's Saturday, isn't it? It's Saturday, isn't it? So you won't be there. No doubt you're on COD causing havoc on there, yeah? Yeah, same sort of system over here then, really. It is. Just come on to do a little bit of discussion about these dogs getting banned and that in the UK. Viciously attacking people, and even to the point where they've actually, killing people. So That's what we're going to talk about. It is. Maybe have a bit of discussion with people about it, see what their thoughts are about it. It is. But there's been a fair few dog attacks by the type of ex-bully dogs that are on the picture. And yeah, well, we have some banned in the UK as well. Certain types of breed of them are banned. They are, and they're on about banning this one at end of year, which I don't think is a bad thing, to be honest with you. But I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit further. I do agree with you in certain with that, Cambo, but there's certain medically things that a lot of people don't know that happens with these sort of dogs as well, and Labradors and the likes of. The brain gets too big for the head and it starts pushing against the skull. And typically in Labradors, they think they're hungry all the time, so they'll eat, be sick, and eat again. And in certain dogs, that happens to them and it turns them absolutely nasty. It does. Of course, it don't happen to every single dog in that breed, but it's a thing that happens. But that's the trouble with it, Cambo. It's not. I agree with it. It's not the dog's fault 100%. It's often, I'd say, 90% of dog owners' fault. I would. And I'll show a few examples of that in a short while. I will. And I've got a 5-year-old German Shepherd. I have, but he's I always say he's built different, but he's just been treated a lot different to what normal household pet would be, I suppose. And you'll see why when I show some of the videos of him and the likes of. I'm not a professional dog trainer or anything like that, but I've trained mine. It's always worked for me. And he's a little bit of a celebrity, my dog is round here locally. And I'm always getting questioned how I trained him and stuff like that, and stuff like that. So, but I've done the same sort of routine with all my dogs as well. So it's not. I just can't claim to being a professional at it. But it just interests me when I hear some of these people come on the TV and on different things, and they talk about it, and I think you don't live in a real world. And then about these dog training classes and stuff like that, and just around me locally, I can count a handful of dogs that have been to these dog training classes and got awards and passes and stuff like that. But when it comes to real life situations, absolutely garbage. For instance, one of them's got that many badges and awards, yet when owner takes it out, it does what it likes. It's got no recoil control. Yeah, it's been passed off for certificates and stuff like that. And even to the point where dog, when it gets fed up and it's out on walk, it decides to go home itself on its own without the even owner. Crossing main roads and everything, just bolts for home. And this dog's got more certificates than I don't know what, so. Oh. It just annoys me. Really annoys me. But well, I see there's a bloke in there. I haven't only briefly seen it myself. You know, and there's a few people have been attacked just lately, haven't they, in the UK? Because a 50-odd-year chap has been killed. Or recently just pronounced that he's died in hospital. I've been attacked by one of these things. Let's have a look. I haven't really prepared any of this at all or anything like that, so I'll be listening and going through it with you yourself. So let's have a look what they've got to say.
Be banned under new plans by the Home Secretary, who's described them as lethal danger. Suella Braverman's vowed to make it illegal to own, to breed or to sell that type of dog after the latest horror attack on an 11-year-old girl in Birmingham at the weekend. These particular dogs have been linked to 9 deaths since 2021. Joining me now to discuss this is dog behaviourist Stan Rawlinson and Jordan Shelley, who owns an XL Bully dog. Thank you, gentlemen, both for joining me. Let's start with Stan Rawlinson. Stan, what are the particular characteristics of this XL Bully dog? Because some people still haven't seen one or heard of them, really. They're a kind of relatively new, aren't they, appearance on the dog scene?
Good afternoon. And I say, yes, they're very new. 1980 was when they were first created, and they were created for the hip hop videos and the gangster rap situation.
Yeah, well, Cambo, the one shot last year down at the bottom of my street. Don't ask me to name a breed of dog, but it was what they used for hunting bears in certain countries. And that was shot a year or so ago down at the bottom of my street. And they didn't just shoot it once. This thing, they had to shoot it about 12 times. And it still kept going up. It did, and this was a planned execution of the dog. It was. And the owner had rung up and noticed it were getting... Well, it had bit the owner as well, ripped a great hole out of his arm. And he owned the dog. And he decided, you know, if that dog ever got out or anything like that, he'd just kill somebody. Yeah, I mean, I heard him going nuts up the street. You know, he lives down the street, and I heard him going crazy because, you know, he says, although the dog's what he is, I want it to be fast, painful, painless, and fast, basically, for the dog. And they said, yeah, we'll come out, we'll shoot him with these 2 darts, and it'll be all over within 5 minutes. About 3 hours it took. It did. Crazy.
Situation that was going on, and by the end of the 1990s, they morphed into the type of dog we see now.
Let's go back and when he started.
Going on, and by the end, and the gang created, and they were created for the hip hop videos and the gang.
I watched it. It was horrible, yeah.
That was going on, and by the end of the 1990s, they morphed into the type of dog we see now.
He goes on about.
And it would
Scene.
Good afternoon. And I say, yes, they're a very new. 1980 was when they were first created, and they were created for the hip hop videos and the gangster rap situation that was going on. And by the end of the 1990s, they morphed into the type of dog we see now.
He goes on about dogs being created for music videos and stuff like that. Well, all dogs are created for some sort of reason, aren't they? You know. German Shepherds. They've created and twisted them in that many different ways now. The actual dog breed itself is knackered. You find a decent German Shepherd out there. Very, very difficult. And what do you blame for these? Do you blame these competitions for it? Crufts and stuff like that? I don't know. I mean, you get you get breeds crossed with breeds now, and you have to ask them what sort of dog it is when you're walking down the street with it. When they walk down the street, what type of dog is that? It's a Jack Russell crossed with a kangaroo and a dinosaur. Yeah. There's always going to be that scene of thing, though, isn't it? Always. There is. I mean, it was same with staffies and stuff like that, wasn't it? You know, everybody wanted a staffy. Every little hoodlum wanted a staffy, didn't they? Or some sort of bulldog or something like that. They did. Use it as a statement thing. Sort of thing. But yeah, all dogs are created really for some sort of purpose. Some for working purposes, some for show purposes, aren't they? So they are.
They're an extremely dangerous dog breed. They're hyperreactive. They have a very, very high prey drive. It's built into them. It's genetic, and a reactivity that I think is off scale. We saw that in a video that you're showing now. The little girl ran past the dog, and the dog was stimulated by that prey drive to attack and kill, and it did exactly that. It jumped on a pull of the ground. They had two lads that ran up, fortunately ran up and saved her, but they both ended up in hospital. Even though one of them battered it with a spade, it didn't even blink at that one. The situations with these dogs when they've attacked people and the police have had to shoot them, have had to shoot them 4, 5, 6 times before they stop. They are an absolute nightmare, and I do think that for this particular crossbreed, something.
You look at that dog and what it's done there and what it's doing, and you'll get that from a police dog. That's exactly what it's going to do. It don't matter how much you hit it. It don't matter how much you try and outrun it. You ain't outrunning a dog. Definitely not. I've proved this many a times. Many a times with my own dog. We have had people, say, oh, they use them for police and stuff like that. So yeah, because you can't escape them really. Basically, can't escape one. I could outrun that dog. So I've literally done this test myself where I've sat my dog at one side of a football pitch and I've placed his favourite toy at the other end of the football pitch. And I've got a group of these people to run in a line to go and grab that toy first before that dog. Not one of them made it past the halfway line before that dog had run the full length for the football pitch, got the toy in its mouth, and it was halfway on its back, and it met him at the halfway line before they had any chance. There's no way you're outrunning a dog. Not a dog of any sort of size. No way. And hitting it with that shovel ain't going to make no difference. I hear this story where people say, oh yeah, if I get attacked by a dog, I'm going to grab its two front legs and rip it apart and it'll destroy its heart. That dog's bit you 30, 40 times before you even grabbed its front legs. Never mind trying to rip it apart. It just don't happen, does it? It don't.
I think very serious needs to be done. And I applaud that at last the government has thought to actually look into this.
All right, I'm going to come to Jordan in just a second, but Stan, I want to ask you something else. You said that these dogs, this breed, you said were created, they were invented really, especially for a certain kind of video. What were the characteristics that those breeders who came up with this XL bully breed, what were they trying to do? What did they want this dog to show or to exhibit?
Well, what they love is a big, powerful, muscular dog, because it's masculinity when it's all said, done. And this is an extension of people's egos. The bigger, the better, etc. But
I'd say it's a penis extension more than anything, not ego.
the problem with this is they took a base for this dog, and the base of the dog was the Banbury, the American Pit Bull. And that is a genetic base for this. On top of that, they put very, very large, heavily muscled mastiffs that had a high prey drive. So they would show a level of masculinity, if you want to put it that way, into it. It was generally the males that went for this, but some of the females love this dog as well. They think it's a fabulous dog. I don't. I think it's a monster. And I believe that the actual crosses and what they've done with it in America have caused an enormous amount of problems. And I think the first thing we should ban is imports from there.
All right, let me bring in Jordan, because Jordan Shelley actually owns.
My problem is with it, yeah, not only that, it happens in this country as well. When you're looking for a dog, I mean, we've been to look for all sorts of dogs and stuff like that in the past, and walked away from them, turned away from them. Many of these dogs that are in your price bracket generally don't come from a well background. A lot of people just stick two dogs together, try and make a quick buck off them. They do. They've not really had much experience with dogs at all, other than perhaps only one for a little period of time. And they decide they've got this dog and they're going to breed it. They're not kitted out for it at home. And that's why you go to some of these places and they absolutely reek of when they've got these pups. Absolutely reek. And I've had friends in that before where they say they've gone to look for a dog, and then a couple of days later I've spoken to them. I said, oh, did you get the dog? And they'd be like, yeah, it was a really bad place that I fetched it from, but I couldn't leave the dog. I felt like I had to buy the dog and I had to bring it away. Couldn't leave it in that condition, sort of thing. But really what you're doing is just fueling the expense of them wanting to do it over and over and over again. And, well, dog prices, like everything else, it's massive, isn't it? Especially when COVID come about. It got absolutely crazy. So it don't just happen in America, it happens in this country as well. Even from little bloody purse dogs, or they call them purse dogs, you know, handbag dogs. And there's always a phase, isn't there? Always a massive phase of dogs. Whether it's a Chihuahua, a sausage dog thing type dog now, I think. That's the big phase.
An XL bully dog. You've just heard Stan there, who loves dogs. That's his whole life. That's what he's all about. He's not a dog hater, he's a dog lover. Say, this isn't really a dog, this is a monster. And he thinks certainly imports should be banned forthwith. You own a dog like this. Why do you choose to have a dog like this, Jordan?
I rescued my dog 7 months ago. I'm also a behaviourist, and I'm systems coordinator at Animal Licensing Wales.
Yes.
Since the introduction of BSL in 1991, dog attacks have increased year on year. I don't think it's an effective way to actually decrease the number of dog attacks. In fact, history shows us that it doesn't work.
Well, what do you mean? I mean, if these dogs are not permitted to exist in this country, if they're considered to be dangerous, you know, predators, overreactive, very, very large, much too large for domestic use, just not welcome in this country and not a legal option to keep a dog like this, why wouldn't that, by just de
No,
facto,
I mean, because we don't ban breeds, we ban types. So types are based around physical characteristics, not actual genetic DNA. So it's looking at how big a dog is, what size it is, and is a tape measure really an appropriate tool to determine?
Yeah, I mean, what I should think we should do in this country is it's not so much banning the breeds of dogs, it's banning people having dogs. So maybe we should go back to a situation where we have to have a license to have any dog, whether it's a little chihuahua or a big dog. And prove that they're capable of looking after it properly and training it to some sort of degree. And I don't mean taking it to puppy classes neither. I don't.
And if a dog is a risk to the public, I don't think so. And actually, all it will do is just all those different cross breeds that fall within that type will then also be considered a dangerous dog and be put to sleep. I think what really needs to happen is restriction on ownership, licensing, education. I think that's how we're going to really change this, because all that will happen if we ban the bully breed is that people will go out and they will breed dogs that are outside of those physical characteristics to be legal again and carry on doing exactly the same thing. This is down to poor ownership and poor breeding. And that's the only way we're going to change things.
Jordan, there have been 9 fatalities, as I've said,
Yep.
to XL bullies since 2021. It's only 2023. We saw that man, because that was a gentleman being attacked after the little girl was attacked in the petrol forecourt. That's a fully grown man fighting this dog with every ounce of energy he can muster. Then you've got other people pitching in to try and help him. The dog's absolutely, the dog looks like some kind of bionic creation made by a Hollywood horror film set rather than an animal, doesn't he? In these footage
in those circumstances, I would agree that it's really horrific, and actually it shouldn't have happened. But if you were to look at the picture of where that dog comes from, I'm sure you'd see a lot of neglect and poor ownership. It's the case in every single bite story. You see that there's the dogs.
That's another thing as well. It happens with every dog. A dog gets tunnel vision, in my opinion, and it'll see something it wants to do and it's going to do it. Unless you physically got hold of that dog in any way, shape or form and could correct it in any way, shape or form, that dog's just going to go. So if it's off a lead, it sees a cat, it's going. Unless it's been trained otherwise. That dog's got something in his head, and I see it all the time. And I'll see owners and they'll be shouting the dog till they're blue in the fleece. Shout it louder, 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 louder. So with no effect on that dog, it's gone. It's in a tunnel vision and it's seen its target and it's going to get it, and that's basically what's happened here. It is. And so there's no way of getting that dog out of that tunnel vision, even to a point where they're battering hell out of this dog with spades, shovels or whatever they are doing to it, kicking it, punching it. That dog's stuck in tunnel vision. And they're talking about in this country, we have something called, we can use in this country at the moment, it's called an e-collar. And I actually own one of these for my dog. My dog was trained on one of these as well. And it goes around your neck, or around the dog's neck, and you can have it on vibrate, you can have it on beep, you can have it on, so it sends a static shock to the neck. Or whatever. And a lot of people want to ban these in the UK, and I think they're an absolutely fantastic tool, providing they're used in the right hands. And it stops a lot of this sort of behaviour. It does. And it's not got to be where it... I own one, I've put it on my neck, and I press it, and I set it up on my own neck. And my dog ain't used one since for years. He's 5-year-old now. My dog, he was trained with that up till he was about 2 years old. He was when he was out and about and off a lead, and I hadn't got much control of him. So if he wanted to go bolting, chasing after a cat, I could chat him before he was training, while he was training. It had no effect on him, no effect whatsoever. I got one of these things. I put it on his neck, and I've used them before years in the past. And I set it up on my own neck, and basically all it does is the dog thinks, "Wow, what was that?" And it takes it out of that tunnel vision. And it might be on that vibrate. It might. My dogs used to work on the beep. The beep would do my dog. In fact, it got to the point where if I put something in the microwave, the beep was the same noise off this e-collar as what my microwave beeped. So the dog used to be, ears were up, tabs were looking, what's going off? It was. And before that, he got that tunnel vision and he was going. He was going after that, whether it was squirrel, cat or whatever. He was going. And that's a massive problem. Once again, that tunnel vision, because it might start with a cat, squirrel or whatever, a piece of paper flying across the street or whatever. But then you've got to think, is that a kid on a scooter? Is that another little dog running around having fun? Is all these things that have to come into your mind of, you can't afford that dog to do that. It could bolt, even for the dog's own safety. If you're walking down the road, you're messing about on your phone, you've got the dog on your hand or whatever, it's not strapped onto you properly or whatever, and dog sees a cat other side of the road, bang, he's gone. He's slipped the lead or whatever. Next minute, you know, there's a bus coming down the road, bang, dog's dead. And God knows how many passengers may have been out on the bus, car or whatever, because he's had to try and slam his anchors on. So, in the right hand, these things are absolutely fantastic tools. They are. We just can't. The trouble is, you get Joe Bloggs that wants to stick it on full power. He sticks it on the dog. The dog don't understand English at all. And I say this to a lot of people. I always get asked these questions all the time. A dog does not understand English. It'd be like somebody coming up to you and saying something in Chinese. You'd be like, what? What? You'd listen for 2 seconds and then you're like, no, mate, you can ramble on with that for as long as you like. I don't understand you. I don't get you. I'm just doing what I'm doing.
Have been passed around, they've been illegally mutilated, they've been bred poorly. I really don't believe that a tape measure is an appropriate tool to determine if a dog is a risk to the public or not. And I think that's the key thing here, is that we don't ban breeds, we ban types. And that's what people have to understand. A type is really a huge range of physical characteristics. And if you ban all of those, every single crossbreed that falls into that will then be considered illegal and be banned. I mean, my dog Basil, I rescued at 10 months old after he was seized from the people that mutilated him and chopped off his ears. He's now training to be a search and rescue dog, and is the most incredible dog, but it takes time, effort, patience, lots and lots of training. The same with any dog and any animal. You know, you really, really need to put in that time and make sure that their welfare needs are met.
Well, I thank you both very much indeed for joining me on the show.
In regards to training a dog, my experience, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon and evening, before you feed the dog. And it's more likely to act to food then, which is one of the most powerfulest tools, I suppose. So a normal household dog, it takes 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon or whatever. If you can get more repetitions in that, that's okay, but as long as you don't overdo it with the dog, because it'll just lose interest and he'll not be hungry anyway, and you miss that vital training thing. So I'll show you video clips of my dog training and stuff like that, and pictures of him like in a bit. I just want to talk about general opinions of these sort of things first. But I'd just like to say 90% of the problem is the owner. And they think they're good owners as well because they walk the dog for 2 or 3 times a day. It's not about that.
show will obviously let our viewers and listeners come to their own conclusions about this, as indeed they always do, and quite rightly so. Thank you very much.
And this is where we come to, and this is what I see a hell of a lot. I see this 3 or 4 times a week every time I walk the dog.
I want to reassure people that we are urgently working on ways to stop these attacks and protect the public. Today I have tasked ministers to bring together these attacks and protect.
Look, just look at this chap. Look, he has no idea about owning a dog whatsoever. First of all, he's got it on the most flimsiest harness I've seen for that type of dog. So it's probably from Pine Shop or something like that. And eventually that dog's going to do that, and that stitching's just going to break, and that dog's going to be gone, the buckle will be snapped or anything. And when you have a dog like that, that likes to pull and stuff like that, a harness is never, ever the best thing for it. It causes tension, in my opinion, between you and the dog on the lead. So the dog thinks it's more of a game. If he had that dog on the lead now, that dog would pull, it'd go forward, it'd get to the end of the lead, and it'd be pulling with a little bit of momentum, and the lead, what went round the collar, would pull that dog back towards him. It would. But the first thing I'd have done with that dog, if that were my dog, is that dog wouldn't have been pulling like that. I'd have been walking back up the pavement with it. It's in a completely opposite direction. I'd have been gone a completely opposite direction. And I had to do that with my dog when he was first training and stuff. Change directions, no end of times. Yeah, I would.
Today I have tasked ministers to bring together police and experts to firstly define the breed of dog behind these attacks with a view to then outlawing it. It is not currently a breed defined in law, so this vital first step must happen fast. We will then ban the breed under the Dangerous Dogs Act, and new laws will be in place by the end of the year. These dogs are dangerous. I want to reassure the public that we will take all necessary steps to keep people safe.
Let's just go through, show you my dog. There's my dog. His name's Bear. He's 5-year-old now. We bought him second-hand, just it was a Christmas dog, so he weren't very old. I think he was 16 weeks. They had him. Couldn't cope with him. There was nothing wrong with him other than he did have a few health problems when we picked him up. We discovered after, but weren't mentioned or told about that at the time of buying him. So he's got allergies to quite a few things, so he can't eat normal dog food. He has to be raw fed. So he has raw food, and his digestive system can cope with that. He's absolutely healthy, loves it, and there's hardly anything that comes out of his back end. Anybody that's thinking about getting a dog, put it on raw food. It makes your job a hell of a lot easier. It does. So that's Bear, and it is. There's some more pictures of him. Look, I've got loads of pictures of him here, there, and everywhere. I have out and about. There he is in the back of the van. Look, he got in that little spot there. He wouldn't let me put nothing in it. I was going to the tip. I was to do a tip run, and he wouldn't let me in. He wouldn't let me fill the van up. But, he wouldn't. Here's some more. Look, this is when he was doing part of his training for distractions and stuff like that. He's actually in a pen full of chickens. He is. And as you can see, he's got his focus on me. He's not really bothered about them, and that's one of the biggest things to get. There it is. There's him. He's sort of came a show. Where he'd suffered with allergies on his back end, and he was trying to get round here, and he does it every year actually. He strips himself of a bit of a. Here's where the wife dressed him up. And I encourage all this sort of stuff because that dog gets yanked about, pulled about. Not just by us, by other people as well. And there's his favourite ball. That's one I mentioned earlier in the video where I put it one side of the football pitch. And you notice he's got an harness on there, which I said is not really a good thing, which it's not for a dog that pulls or you've got no control over anything like that. He wears that harness, there's nothing ever attached to it other than lights and stuff like that. And it's got a physical handle on the top that I hold if I have to. There's another German Shepherd that is named Schuyler, which he interacts with every now and again. This is where I was walking in. We went to a bit of a festival sort of thing in a local park or whatever, and we went there and they were doing a little bit of a competition. We had no idea about this competition or anything like that. And generally, if we go out, the dog comes with us if it can. It's physically possible. And he came to this park, and I'm really against this sort of thing, these competitions and stuff like that. But it weren't for a profitable thing, and or anything like that. Didn't win anything other than a badge, I suppose. So, and my lad asked if I could take him in and do it, and so we did. And he come first. That's one where he came second, but that bit was fixed, I'm sure. But maybe I've been. This is where he's training with a wife on a dog sleeve. People say, why would you train your dog to bite? And you train a dog to bite, you train a dog not to bite as well. So he's having a bit of a chomp there. He's lazy. There he is, look, with a pair of socks on. So we throw everything at him. We do. That was a joke. And there he is. I don't know, he must have been about a year or so old there. Maybe not a year. At one point he had his own sofa. What is this? There is a pup, kids and stuff. And the one thing he does now is if you want to play fight with him or anything like that, he was a bugger when he was a kid, a pup, and when he was teething and stuff like that, play fighting and making little scratches on your arm and stuff like that. So to combat that, and he still does it to this day. If we're having a bit of a play fight, a bit of a scrap, or something like that, I've always put a ball in his mouth, and he chews on that, runs about with that. So now, even nowadays, if he comes and he fancies a bit of a scrap or a bit of a fight, play fight, something like that, he'll go and fetch a ball and put it in his mouth. He will. Now, how do I get some videos on here of him somewhere? There's a little monster. Oh, this is one where This is part of the sort of thing I used to train him with, look. When he was a pup.
Yes, good job. Place. Good job. Place. Good job.
They weren't very old there. He's just doing a few training exercises.
Good job. Side. Good job. Place. Stay. Okay. Good job. Side. Sit. Yes, good job.
And go on, we'll do that for a while. I'm in the video, so it's 5 minutes here, but he probably had about 15 minutes that morning or whatever. Then he'd do it again 15 minutes in the afternoon.
Between.
He would.
Good job. Place.
This
Good job.
all done inside where there's no distractions, and then you train the dog, you train it inside with very little distractions, and then you have to start all over again when you go outside them. It's like starting over again.
Place. Good job. Stay. Back. Down. Stay.
Is and all these little things
Okay. Come.
makes a great dog. He's busy, he's doing a job.
Place.
It's not just about having one, bringing it in, feeding it, watering it, letting it jump all over the sofa and stuff like that. But he might even in this video, I can't remember, I've not that long since I've seen it, he might even get bored with this himself, you know, and I probably pushed him a little bit too far at that young age.
Stay.
But
Okay. Yeah. Good job.
if as I say, it takes 15 minutes.
Good boy.
He's teaching to walking backwards.
Do you remember spin? Hey, spin. Yes.
Yeah, I think if everybody could do this for 15 minutes in the morning or 15 minutes at night, this sort of thing, dogs would be fantastic. I'm no professional at it, but you can see
Good job.
it's very young age there.
Sit. Down. Good job. Place. Good job.
And he's
Side. Sit. Good job.
God, what was he, about 6 months old, I think, maybe not even that.
Come.
I can't remember, to be honest with you.
Come. Good job. Back up. Back up. Back up. Good job.
Teaching him to walk backwards as well at this point.
Good job. Stay.
But all these little things help to build to bigger things in bigger pictures.
Side. Yeah.
They do.
Good job. No. Between. Good job.
See, you noticed, go back there,
Good job.
it's offered that behaviour, look,
No. Between.
and I didn't give him that command, so I told him no.
Place.
That shows he knows he hasn't done the right thing.
Good job. Good job.
But he's at that point now where you could probably, I did this in a town centre with him and stuff like that. You can put like a little piece of paper down in a town centre and send him to that piece of paper inside town centre and he'd go and stand on it. This one's where he's learning. This is where his first stage of learning to wipe his feet before he comes in the house.
Wipe.
It's not that beneficial.
Job.
Don't think he stood it to this day. You'll attempt to wipe his feet on a mat before he comes in the house. He don't. As an hygiene thing, it makes no difference. But It was something I liked to teach him. Keep his mind busy. He's learning new stuff all the time.
Wipe. Good job.
And he's interested. And most of all,
Wipe.
he's having fun doing this, believe it or not. Not only is he getting fed, but it's the interaction between us.
Yeah. Wipe.
As well.
Wipe. Good boy.
He thinks, well, I wiped there and you didn't give me no. But
Wipe. Wipe.
so it can be done. I'm just a normal person. Works long hours myself. I did at the time. Yeah, I still find an amount of time for him in the morning and at night.
Wipe. Yes, good job. Wipe.
And there's loads of videos of him, but oh, this goes to prove that this is another dog I owned, and there's learning again. Look, oh, she is. This I can't remember the exact time, and this is why I just got back from work or just before I went to work. So it don't take long.
Sit. Good girl. Go down. Good girl. Leave it. Good girl. Good girl.
15 minutes in the morning. And if you can't find that 15 minutes in the morning or 15 minutes in the afternoon or whatever, when you get back from work, then you've got to ask yourself, have you actually got time to own a dog? This is another dog.
Sit. Now. Sit. 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 Oi. Sit. Sit.
That was a dog that somebody said never get dog to sit. I took it home for about 20 minutes and it was sitting like that. It was. Don't ever do this, by the way. My dog's never on a lead, but don't ever do it yourself. People so many times ask me, how do you? Your dog is never on a lead. I say, yeah. They say, I'd love to walk my dog like that, so it's not. Well, there's loads of training little scenarios that you have to go through before I'd even trust that Tim mentioned before.
Sit. Good boy. Sit. There.
See, he's totally lost concentration there. That tunnel vision that I was talking about, he's totally gone out of his head. It don't matter what I say there or do, he would have never have took much notice of me.
Stay.
And that's where, when I say that e-collar came in useful at certain times.
Come. Good boy. Sit. Good job. Stay.
I'm going through these parts of the video really just to show you why I have such a high opinion on more the owners of the dogs more than
No, sit. Good boy.
necessarily the breed of the dog.
There. Side. Side. Sit. Go on. Stay.
And where's that gone? This is this is a picture of you'll see this video in a minute where my dog's naturally protective of the house, and a lot of dogs are like that. They're a pack dog, and basically that's their den. And I got the side door open because I was I was at the top of the garden, and the dog was running from me. The gate was locked. Well, it was shut, but it wasn't locked. But I weren't too bothered about that because we've gone through this training and stuff like that we've done to him, and it listened to me. I don't think there's the audio on there to show that, but I stood 60, 70 foot away at the top of my garden, and somebody entered. What is a postman? And if my dog had bit this postman, it'd have been in real big trouble. Because you see him stop, that's me shouting him. That's not because he went back through that gate, because I've seen him go through that gate before and chase people up the street. I have my brother. When I noticed a dog was getting to a certain age, I stopped people. People just used to knock on the door and walk in the house. I noticed the dog was really getting house protective, so I had to stop that. I could let anybody in the house and he'd be absolutely fine with him. You try getting in the house, totally different story. And I did it more to prove a point when I said he's been up the street chasing somebody. My brother come in, I'm not bothered about that dog. They just had sort of attitude. Younger brother, I'm not bothered about that dog. What's that dog going to do? I'd say, well, I've warned you, lad. If you come in and it bites you, it's your own fault. Anyway, he decided he was going to come through that brand door, through the back door. And the dog instantly, teeth were out, gone. So he decided he was going to run back through that gate, up to the right side, and the dog just carried on. The time I got off the sofa and got to that gate, I managed to shout the dog back before he actually got his teeth into him. But that's yeah, I had, but that's just a point of proving that dog listened to me then when I said to him, you know, that's why the dog stopped like that. It is. There's one here where he's in the chicken pen. Where's that? Oh, this is the one. It is. And these are all little things I've had to go through with this dog to why he won't. When people say, how can you teach me to have my dog off the lead and walk outside of me like you are? And I said, I'd never teach it you. I said, why? I said, because you've not gone through the steps that I've gone through, rightly or wrongly. So if that chicken was walking across the road,
He fell over.
or a cat, or a squirrel, my
Chicken
dog
all over.
would not leave my side. It would keep an eye on it, but it wouldn't run across the road to go and get it. And that's why I don't teach people how to walk the dogs off the lead. Or when I get asked about teaching people, I don't do it. I don't, for that reason, because I get asked all the time, like I'm some sort of dog trainer or something like that, you know, do it professionally or anything like that. And what what I find out is when I'm actually, it's the same as when I watch some of these videos and politicians and stuff on about this sort of thing, banning dogs and stuff like that. It riles me up, and even to locals that I talk to as well, because they'll mention about training dogs and stuff like that. And my experience of it is, my dog never even got fed out of a bowl for maybe 5 or 6 months. It was hand fed out of my hand. So I used to pick the food up and give it him out of my hand. To me, it creates a massive bond between you and that dog. And stuff like that. Yeah, it's dirty, it's horrible, and when you know, you do it with a few biscuits, it's not so bad. But imagine when you're doing it with raw, stinky, horrible tripe food. It's a horrible thing to do, but we do it to build a good relationship with him. And the dog knew then that he'd got to work for food rather than you don't just get something free as such. That's what was going off in my head anyway when I was doing it. And it made it easier to train him and was using food as laws to make him rather swirl through your legs or train him to walk backwards or sit or stay for a long time or whatever. Because he'd know he'd got to work for it to a certain degree. And this is what sort of thing is when you come to talking about people dog training the dogs and stuff like that. Having a dog's not just about picking a lead up or a cupful of biscuits, chuck it in a bowl. Not in my opinion. Whether it is, and that don't matter whether it's a little Yorkshire Terrier or whether it's a big dog. It's about you want a dog because you want to spend time with them, you know. When I go on holiday, if I go on holiday, if I can't take the dog, I'm not bothered about going. Simple as that. That's just me though. My dog was also what they call crate trained or put in a cage. When he was younger, he don't have one now. But when he was younger, and then I spoke to people and they'd say, why would you put your dog in a cage? Two things. I've had dogs before where they've ripped my ass to absolute pieces. They've had the plaster off the wall, they've had off the kitchen. I've got to a point where I had a dog and I've been out to work, I come back and it absolutely ripped my kitchen to pieces that much that I couldn't even get in the doors. Couldn't get in the door at all. It literally smashed through the door. It ripped the kitchen absolutely to pieces. It has. So not only does it cost a lot of money to repair, but then you have to think, okay, we all have electric cables running about the house, whether it's in the wall or you know, or whether it's an extension lead you've got run round, or whether it's a phone charger or whatever it is. You leave that dog alone and you've not got eyes on that dog, and that goes and choose an extension lead. Game over. Dog will be dead probably before that fuse can actually trip. So you have to think as well about them sort of things. So that's why I like crates, because it's not just about putting a dog in a crate. It's also about safetiness for the dog. And even if you ain't got say if you come to the most perfect house and it's got no extension leads, no things. I've seen dogs dig away at plaster because they love the like salty taste or whatever it is in the plaster. And they'll dig away at it, and if they find that cable in the back, they're going to chew it. They are. Or it could be a piece of wood from a skirting board or from a dado piece of rail or whatever, a door architrave. And you get it wedged in its mouth, choked to death, you're not there, game over, dog's gone. You know, so I'm a big fan of putting dogs in cages till you can absolutely trust them 100% or near enough. You never trust anything 100%. Like I never trust my dog around nieces and nephews 100%, and I've got an amazing dog. I could turn him on with like a light switch for aggression and stuff like that, but I still would never ever. If I was in my front room and that kid can be there yanking away at my dog while I'm there, and I'll be always keeping an eye on him. And I will take my attention off him a little bit or whatever, but I'm there immediately. If I got up out of that room to go and even put the kettle on, I would call that dog and take that dog with me. Just give me a second while I pour me drink. So, yeah, I mean, that's why I have totally different opinions of using these sort of equipment and tools to what generally most people have. You go out, you speak to people and say, they'll say to you, where do you keep your dog at night? Or what do you do with your dog? I say, well, when he was younger, not now. I'll say, well, he's kept in a cage at night, or if we go out and we're going out for a period of time, he'd be kept in a cage. Oh, I wouldn't do that with my dog. Yeah, well, you think about. Think about the danger that you're putting your dog in as well. It's not just about him being stuck in a cage. It's also about also about the safety of the dog. It is. So sometimes when you go on, you're looking online and you're talking about people and say, oh, it's the dog owner, it's the dog, or it's the dog owner. Most of it, 90% of trouble is dog owners. 90% of it is dog owners. They get a dog, it's absolutely fantastic. They get it gets to about 6-month-old, they start losing interest in it. Basically, the dog becomes an ornament. Some of them don't even bother to walk them. They'll just open the back door, goes out, does his business in the garden. They'll bring it back in, they'll feed it, and that'll be it. Very little interaction with that dog at all. Sort of things, and the amount of times I've been questioned and people have goes at me as well for certain things. As he were growing up and he were training, I used to visit loads of people's houses with him, and that dog were never off the lead, so he didn't get to interact with the people in that house as such until I give him permission. So they might have 10 minutes before we were ready for leave, and I'd let him go and have a fuss and stuff like that, and people would fuss him and stuff like that. But I'd sit down where I was sitting down, that dog would sit at the side of me or lay down at the side of me, and he weren't allowed to move. And there was loads of reasons for that. One, I didn't want him going around other people's asses. I meant they give me enough respect to let me bring the dog. So last thing I wanted him is going around and jumping on their materials, their ornaments or whatever, knocking them over, smashing pictures or anything like that. I've got a long-haired German Shepherd. He molts like mad for a start, all constantly, all the time. I didn't want to leave people's asses in a mess. And I didn't want him jumping up on their furniture. But people used to get a little bit narky with me at times. Oh, just let him come. And I say, no, he comes when I say he can come. And that's it. And he did. He used to get 10 minutes or whatever before we went. But then there's been other instances where my dog, if I say to him side, he actually loops around the back of me and then comes to my side. He comes to my right side, not my left. I think left is the most trained side for people when they're in these shows and stuff like that. And I could have trained him to come to my left side. I can train him to come to both sides, but my most powerful hand is my right side. So I don't care how they train him in these for these shows or anything like that. What went through my mind is, if I've got to grab hold of that dog for any reason or whatsoever, my most powerful hand is my right side, so he's going to walk my right side. Which caused its own little troubles when we're walking up and down streets and stuff like that. But you get over him. God, when he was about 4 months old, he was absolutely petrified of cars, and I mean petrified. If he walked near a car, he'd throw up. He'd be drooling like mad. It was terrible. To the point where he used to get to the end of my gate, and if my car parked out there, he'd just plonk his bum and he was going nowhere near. You sort of get him a bit of a drag on the lead sort of thing to try and get him moving. And the only way I could fix that, really, I used to take him on a walk, and I went and sat on a major busy roundabout with him for about 3 or 4 days. Every time I walked him, I took him up this majorly busy road roundabout, and we just sat there for 20 minutes, half an hour each time, till eventually thought, they ain't bothering me, I ain't bothered about them. And that's how I got him out of that. I sort of forced him into his fear a little bit. So it was absolutely terrible when when you take him on a car journey, he used to throw up all over the place and make an absolute mess and stuff like that. And we tried all these things. You go online and you read about them, put lavender in jars and stuff like that. None of it worked. The only thing that worked is kept making him do it and do it and do it and do it. It did. So he got rid of the bit of anxiety that he had. Yeah, it was a pain in the backside every time you went, because sometimes I just used to I'd chuck him in the back of the car and nip him up to a field just 10 minutes up the road. Could have walked there quicker than driving it, but I had to get him in the car to get him used to it. To come back, clean the sick up, sort it out, start all over again, sort of thing. But that's what you have to do sometimes. It is. I've not really I'd gone through a lot of these videos or whatever before I started doing this live, so I just seen the one about the Prime Minister and what he was saying about banning these dogs and stuff, and I'm like, you can ban as many dogs as you like. You need to ban the owners, I'm afraid. And even to the point where, I mean, just look at that, look. Nobody's got... Where is the dog owner for a start? The dog owner's not even in sight, is it? Not even in sight. And that's another big, and we get a lot of that on my street as well, where I live. I'll constantly see dogs, no owners about, they've got off the yard or whatever, and they'll be constantly roaming down the street. They will. Not a dog owner in sight. That dog, if that dog should be put to sleep, there's no way that dog can ever be trusted again after it's done that to a kid like that. The taxi driver, look, stopping to help. Absolute craziness. Well, why is that? Right, you get somebody and you'll be walking down the street and you've got your dog at the side of you. In my case, it's the side of me. Someone say, don't move. And somebody will have a lead on a dog. It might be 6 or 7 foot long. They don't know my dog. Why don't they pull the dog right close to him? Instead, it's at the end of the lead or whatever. So it'll have a pop. And then dogs like people, and they don't like every person. So they won't like every dog. You know, dogs don't it's a male thing as well, you know, testosterone and stuff like that. So I'll come up and some people will say, "Oh, my dog's friendly." I say, "Yeah, but mine ain't." And well, your dog's off the lead. I say, "Yeah, but I can't guarantee he's going to be friendly with your dog if your dog attacks him, or if your dog shows the wrong sort of signs to my dog." So get your dog close to you, I'll get my dog close to me. We'll let them meet. We'll have them at arm's length so they can have a little bit of play or whatever. If they get on all right, they can go. I'm not just going to let my dog come running up to your dog or you as a person even. And because I don't know what the reaction is going to be. I don't. So it's not something I'd do. But a lot of people do it. A lot of dog owners do it. They do. Or the worst, one of the worst thing I see is these people with the long lines, you know, these retractable leads. And it happened a year or so ago on the back here. We got on the back, I say on the back, we've got like a bit of a wood area on the back of us. It's been an old train line that's been turned into a footpath, and it leads up to a tip. So you get loads of dog owners there, dog walkers and stuff like that. And they have them on these long lines that are retractable, you know, and they can go up to about 60, 70 foot on them. And it happened to one particular bloke where his dog were a German Shepherd. You know, he bought one of these leads and he bought the most heaviest duty thing that you could see. It was an expensive one. I've come across them before. Retractable lead, you know, more than capable of no chance of it snapping sort of thing, if you know what I mean, when the dog pulled out or whatever. But what he didn't take into consideration is that dog run 30 foot on end of that line, and he's trying to hold on to it with his hand like that. When that dog got to that end at lead, it yanked him off the floor. All of his feet was off the floor, and he'd gone. He must have flew in the air about 6, 7 foot. He come back down, broke his ribs. So when I'm not a great fan of them retractable leads at all in situations like that. It's you'd be better off getting one of them training leads. What I used to do with Bear when he used to have about a 60-foot training lead on him, and when he was younger, we used to walk with him, and he used to stand on it on purpose, just stand on it, and it used to give him a little bit of a jerk. Or if, for instance, when I was training him and he's got to stay close to me. He's not got to be at my side. He's got to be working at the side of me. But I want him close to me, and I don't want him going more than like 10 foot away from me or something like that. You know, we might be approaching kids on push bikes, or might be coming across other dogs or something like that. And I guess to a certain point where I think that dog's got to be close to me, because how am I going to react if anything kicks off? It'll all, by the time I get to that dog, or them dogs, or that person, or whatever, I'm thinking in my own head, it'll all be over. By the time I get there, I know he's only 10 feet in front of me, or 20 feet in front of me, it will all be over by the time I get there. So he knows at certain points, or whatever, he can't be too far in front, or too far behind even at that. So I used to put a long line on him, and when he got to a certain amount of footage, I used to stand on it with my foot, and it'd give him a bit of a jerk, and he'd say, like, I'm as far as I'm going here. And we did that for ages. Till he knows that he can only go so far. But you watch stuff like that and you think, where is that dog owner? It's absolute crazy. So that to me is nothing to do with that dog as such, because that dog should have never ever been left to get in that situation. It shouldn't. Well, so yeah, you can say, dog can get out anyway. It can get out anyway. Well, make your property so the dog cannot get out. So if it means having 6-foot fences all the way around your property and a lock gate, make it so the dog can't get out. You wouldn't. I say you wouldn't. It happens, don't it? But if that was a child, it wouldn't be down that road, would it? it won't. Well, that happens as well. It does. But yeah, absolute craziness with some of this stuff.
This week began with
What's he got to say?
How many more times are we going to read, see or hear of another child being monstered by a dog? And the dogs are those hideous XL bullies. They're a relatively new breed and they should be a relatively short-lived breed. They've got to be banned, and very quickly. I was shocked to the core, as I'm sure you were, as you'd have seen that footage of that man being chased around a petrol station in Birmingham. Felled by the dog, people intervened, including one man wielding a shovel. But that wasn't enough to deter this vicious beast. As this guy got up, he was chasing him again. He'd already taken a chunk out of an 11-year-old girl's arm. They tried to suppress him, the owner, but failed completely. Those dogs were responsible in 2021 for 60% of all injuries inflicted on humans by dogs. The following year, the number was 40%. And here's the really, truly shocking figure. Since 2021, those XL bullies are responsible for the deaths of 11 people. 11 people, including 3 children. How much more warning and notice does the government need to get a grip? What is Therese Coffey, she's the Environment Secretary for her sins, who, believe it or not, has responsibility for this, done or said about it? Absolutely nothing. Too busy trying to get her finger out to sort out the polluted rivers. I don't think she's even doing that. So thank God for Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary. Now, she doesn't always get a good press, not bad press on the Daily Mail, it has to be said, for intervening, for speaking out, because she saw that video, and like the rest of us, she was shocked, she was horrified. That could have been her husband, her brother, her mate.
But my point is, it's not just that dog. That will do that. I've seen it happen with little dogs, Jack Russells. A neighbour, he's passed away now, but a few years ago, he came over the road. He says, Dave, I've took all the concrete panels out the back fence. We had to do something over next door. Can you help me put them back in? I'll help anybody, I will. I said, yeah, no problem at all. He got this little Jack Russell, and he says, I was aware of the dog, and I says to him, will that dog bother me? Or anything like that. It didn't matter to me, that little Jack Russell. What's your dog like? Is it fine? Yeah, it's fine. And it did, it called me, it had a sniff, you know, you put your hand down to it, back of your hand, and it has a sniff, and it's fine. It is, and I lift this concrete post up, or panel. You know, you get the plinth and the panel, a concrete plinth and panel, and when I lift this concrete plinth up with the dog on the other side, and was just about to put it in, and the dog had hold of my ankle. It bit me at the back of my ankle. It did. I says to him, first thing I says to him is, I thought you said that dog were right. Well, it's never done it before. And when I was asking him if this dog was alright, one of my main things was, as well, it was thinking in my head at the time is, does this dog need to be out in this garden while we're trying to walk around with bloody concrete posts or plinths or whatever? You know, he could trip us up, cause us injuries, cause him injuries or whatever, cause the dog an injury. That was my main thing. I went as well. Anyway, it bit me, and anyway, we lifted this post in, and I says to him, mate, you know, if that dog bites me again, I'm kicking it. He says, you what? I says, I'm going to kick your dog. So if that dog lays its teeth on me again, it's going to get the biggest boot it's ever had in its life. I said, it's had its first snap, it ain't having another one. And I thought, after that, he'd go, all right, then I'll go put the dog away or anything like that. But no, carried on. Gets over to the second post in my arm like that. Dog had another bite at my ankle. And I kicked it, and it must have gone about 10 foot up in air, and it come back down, and it were all slabbed area. And it come back out of air, and I didn't have to get a boot. I'd have killed it. That's my, because I thought, it shouldn't be doing that. He's invited me onto property to help him out. Put the dog away or do whatever. And it bit me. So I get it a right good boot. And it come back down. It hit its head on concrete and knocked itself out for about 10 minutes. It was gone, and I thought, oh no. I thought, I've killed his dog. No way. And it come round after about 10 or 15 minutes. And I went to check the dog myself, to the best of my ability. And the dog was good as gold. It came to my feet, it sat down, wagging its tail, I had a stroke with it, everything. That dog thought, I've learnt a lesson here. And we put all these panels in a post back in after that. It never did an absolute thing. In fact, I called its name, it ran straight to me. The dog had a boot and it had a lesson. Talked to it. It had, but unfortunately, the dog did have to be put down about a year later. He took a great chunk out of the owner's face. He did, just jumped on his sofa, jumped on his arm, randomly, and just took a chunk out of his face. But there were signs when he bit me that it shouldn't have been, I expect if I let somebody into my property or somebody into my house, that dog will let them in, and it will behave with them, and I'll be keeping my eye out. My dog's got this thing where people think it's a lovely thing it does, and they'll come in, I'll invite them in, they'll sit down, and they'll be fussing the dog, and it'll sit on their feet, and they'll say, oh, your dog likes me. I say, well, it's not really liking you, mate. I said, it's a sign of it dominating you. You should say, I'm here, you can stroke me, but if you carry on or go anything funny, it's, I'm going to have you. Sort of thing. I said, he won't bite you, but that's what his behaviour is showing to me. He's dominating you. It's not, sort of thing. And the likes of. But they instantly think, because dogs' tails wagging don't mean it likes you at all. It don't. So, well, this is, it's absolutely craziness. This is where's the dog owner?
When she read about the 11-year-old child who'd been attacked, that could have been her own son or daughter. So she's saying she wants an urgent report, but more to the point, she's cut to the quick. She doesn't need civil servants to wring their hands in despair about what about the human rights of the horrible people who own these dogs, because I'm sorry, you have to be horrible to want to own a horrible dog like that. She doesn't care about their human rights. She wants them banned. Not before time, Minister. And we can share a story with you here that we've heard at the Mail. 5-year-old boy comes home from school. His parents have 2 of these disgusting dogs. Worse still, they've been breeding. I don't mean the parents, I mean the dogs. And the result is 5 puppies. The little lad who's been playing in the garden makes the mistake of going into the house to get a drink of water. The puppies, the playful little puppies, they set about him. He's in hospital with 17 life-changing injuries. Home Secretary, we know you're watching this or listening to this. Don't delay, don't dither, get on with it. Because next time, the little boy won't have life-threatening injuries or life-changing injuries.
That brings me back to another story. Just before my lad was born 19 years ago, I had a female German Shepherd then. And I had her from a pup as well, so it was nothing to do with somebody else had had it and they were a bad owner or he'd been through traumatic stress or anything like that. And it was only about 8 months old when it did it, I think, maybe a little bit older. I didn't really know a great deal about dogs and stuff like that myself at that time. And I suppose that's where I learnt a lesson, a big lesson really, about the responsibilities of owning a dog. And I used to walk it all the time and feed it, but never really trained it as such. Only little things, you know. And we used to do a lot of bad things, me and the wife, that it'd be on the sofa and stuff like that, and it'd get on the sofa as and when it wanted. And I don't have none of that now. The dog, it knows its place. It does, and its place ain't on my sofa, I'm afraid. And so he don't come on my sofa. I've been out and I've bought him an own little sofa before, and I'll sit on there with him or whatever, or I'll get on the floor and sit with the dog for a few hours or whatever, but he ain't getting on my sofa, he ain't getting on my sofa, and he ain't getting on my bed. I know a lot of people like it, I don't like it. So it's not happening. But anyway, that dog, that was allowed on the sofa. That dog did whatever it liked, basically. Went in any room, did whatever it liked. And it used to sleep in the bedroom with us, sometimes on the bed, sometimes in its own bed. And my missus used to play fight with it. I used to play fight with it. And she was play fighting it on the bed with it one day, and she was under the cover, and the dog was digging at her and stuff like that, trying to get her. And she pulled the thing over like that, and it took a great chunk out of her eye. It did. Made a bit of a mess of her eye at the bottom there. And we kept the dog. We did. And that was the same. That dog would let anybody in the house, but he wouldn't let you back out. No way would you get back out of that house. He'd let you in, you could do around, you could fill your pockets with everything you wanted. As soon as you come to that door to get out, that dog would chomp you in two. It would. And I'd seen this sort of behaviour from this dog, what he was up to and stuff like that. And my missus fell pregnant with my lad, which is 19 now. And of course, we had the discussion about the dog and stuff like that. And the first thing I found out when she was pregnant, I says, the dog's going. She said, what do you mean? I said, the dog will have to be rehomed somewhere like that. I said, it's bit you once before. I could never trust that dog. And I could never keep my eye on it 100% with a newborn baby about. I know a lot of people do it. Never have no trouble with it. I weren't letting that happen because I'd seen what this dog had done to my wife before, so we had to find it a new home. And because I'd seen that trait with that dog, no way would I have kept that around my child. And there's always that opportunity. In seconds, it would have all been over. If you can imagine having a baby, it's in a bouncy chair, and you take your eyes off it, them for 2 seconds, and the dog's got its teeth around its neck. Game over, gone, punctured, whatever. It's gone. It's a waste of time. You just don't do it. And it sounds like that in this video clip here, where you know they've just got a new set of pups that have come out, and straight away, bang.
They'll be dead. 11 already since 2021, 3 of them children. They've got to be banned, and every single person who's got one, no compensation, they've just got to be removed. And if you are an owner of one of these dogs, can you explain why? They're brutal, they're ugly, and they're horrible. But perhaps they have to look in the mirror.
Oh, what? How far do we go with this sort of thing? I mean, Belgian Malinois, German Shepherds, all sorts of dogs of that thing a bit. Can be exactly the same thing. If you think if a German Shepherd didn't get loose like that and had a tunnel vision, that there'd be any different outcome, they both can equally do the same amount of damage. Even something down to a little Yorkshire Terrier, that's the same. But it's not always the dog. I think sometimes you have to take into consideration as well some of the things that can happen with the risk of the dog as well. When it gets to a certain age, you know, sometimes the brains hit the skull of the dog and it turns them. I see this a lot with Labradors, pit bulls, and any sort of that sort of dog in that general thing. That the brain hits the skull to a certain part and it can do different things to him. Like the biggest thing that happens to a Labrador is you can never fill it. Never stop eating. Never stop eating. It'd eat till it was sick and sick and sick, and then it'd eat again some more. It would. It's you see, why does anyone need a killer dog? Every dog can kill. Why does anybody need a dog? They need to be licensed again. And they need to be... If you started licensing dogs, I bet 50% if you had to go and get a license for a dog like you did a car or something like that, and you had to prove that you were capable of looking after a dog, any dog that is, and offer it some basic training and ability to be out in public and stuff like that, 50% of people wouldn't have a dog, if not more. They won't, because they won't be able to go through the hassle. And if you reduce the amount of people buying dogs, you reduce the amount of people breeding these sort of dogs as well. Because a lot of people, same as I said before, they're just in it. They're not bothered about it. They don't even know where they're selling that dog to. Never mind, you see the state that you go to pick some of these dogs up from when you're buying them. It's just a pure profit thing for them. It is. Oh, I've seen her. This is it. This some of it, I think.
To keep people safe. Will be in place by the end. We will then bring together police and experts to firstly...
I can't find it. I watched a little thing earlier and it was... This dog...
American Bully XL dogs could soon be banned.
It jumped up and it took...
Home Secretary, who's described them as lethal danger. Suella Braverman's vowed to make it illegal to own, to breed or to sell that type of dog after the latest horror attack on an...
So this week began with widespread concern about
I'd be kicking and screaming before they took my dog life. I won't just let them take it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, it broke my heart. It broke my kids' heart. You know, she's a part of the family. She sleeps on the sofa. Sometimes she'll sleep up bed. Do you know what I mean? She is like the family.
In Staffordshire, a 30-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of having dogs dangerously out of control and manslaughter. But if owners of the breed wonder what the government's plans will mean for them now, a family in mourning have to overcome a death by dangerous dogs.
Simeon Brown reporting. Well, let's talk now to Trevor Cooper, the head of a legal practice which specialises in dog law and works closely with the RSPCA. Mr. Cooper, thanks for coming on the programme. Is there any defence at all for the kind of dogs that are causing these attacks?
Well, anybody who owns a dog needs to make sure that their dog doesn't injure anybody. I don't think you can necessarily just single out one particular breed of dog, albeit I accept that the evidence that we've seen is that there has been a much larger number of incidents involving these types than any others recently.
So
there is no justification.
So is the breed to blame or are the dog owners to blame?
I think it's a combination, but a dog is more likely to behave according to the way that it's trained and socialized rather than anything to do with its genetic background. So perhaps we, rather than concentrate.
Let's speak to.
I was just trying to find that clip that I seen. I was watching a clip earlier. It was crazy what this dog were doing, and the owner just didn't have a clue. Not one bit of clue. It's just the guy that I seen. I can't find it. It was literally lunging at people, and he would just stood there, leave it full leash. It jumped up, grabbed this woman's. I think it was a phone actually. It grabbed, and she was bending down, picking her stuff, and that dog was still lunging at her, and he was still only a foot away from her. This dog was end of lead, and I thought, mate, what are you doing? I can't remember where I've seen it now.
Walk.
There's him training again, look.
Between. Between. Yes. Boy. Stay. Okay. Yes. Between. Yes. Good boy. Walk. Walk. Come on.
Just trying to find where.
Spin.
I've seen it. I couldn't believe it when I seen it.
Yes. Good boy. Sit. Stay. Okay. Yes. Good boy. Side. Walk. Side. Between. Good boy. Between. Between. Yes. Good boy. Sit. Stay. Side. Okay. Side. Side. Yes, good boy. Between. Sit. Stay. Okay. Side. Side. Sit. Yes, good boy. Stay. Okay. Side. Yes, good boy. Walk. Yes, good boy. Between. Sit. Yes, good boy. Good job. Back. Leave it. There. Look, leave it.
I think this is a video. And this happens. I see this thing all the time, not just because it's a young lad, but I see this with normal, average dog owners.
Oi. Stop that. Oi. Stop that.
Look at that, look. Not got a clue in the world. Look at that. And I see that from normal people. Just walking the dog, where the dogs just go up and lunge on people like that. All the time. If that dog really wants to pull, he's going and he's skiing with that dog. With his pine shop harness on. Look, pulled him all the way across there. Gonna have a clue. He's having to hide at the back of a truck while cars are flying by because of that stupid dog. Absolute bonkers. That's it, get a pat on the head. Make you think like it's doing a great thing. Good thing. He thinks it's funny. That's it, get another pat on the head, it's done a good thing. Now look, he knows. He wants to chunk out that girl. Let's beat it. Same girl. Not got a clue in the world. Not a clue in the world. Look, this is what I'm on about. Look, rips a phone out. It's not even moved that dog away from it in any way, shape or form. And now she's going to bend down, put her face in front of that dog's head. He can't control it. We've seen this before. He thinks he's got hold of it there, but if that took another good lunge, it'd be in her face, took a chunk out of her cheek, or whatever, her eye, or whatever. Absolute craziness. And this just don't happen because it's a young lad got hold of that dog neither, and it's the wrong type of dog. This happens all the time. With all different types of dog and all different types of people. I've seen it so many times. I see this week in, week out. Week in, week out. dog, nobody can even get near shot. Absolute craziness. The best thing to have as a lead is one of these slip lead. And it's a bit like a choker chain, but it's not. But what happens is if a dog goes to lunge like that, you pull the lead and it pulls it like that. So the head of the dog is nowhere near for a start. Having an harness on, don't do that. But there's another thing you can use one of these for. You can actually put that over its head and make a figure of 8 and put that over its muzzle like that. So that'll be the dog's head and then that'll go over its muzzle. And when it pulls, if a dog's having a bite, not only does it pull the dog's head away, it shuts its mouth. And they're not very expensive, very simple, a bit like a choker chain. Best lead you can ever buy. It's not long, but it's the best, probably one of the best leads you can ever buy. I don't care about your choker chains, anything other than anything like that. Prong collars, that is one of the most versatile, best in my opinion, leads you can ever buy. Everybody should, outside a dog, should be made to own one of them. I don't care about its fancy bling bling collar. It's one of the ultimate tools you can get for a dog. So, in conclusion, it's not always about what type of dog it is. It's 90% of the owner, in my opinion. Man, just take 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night just to have a go at training your dog. There's plenty, hundreds of thousands of videos out there that you can have a look at. On YouTube. And just gotta learn your dog to be better behaved in society, I suppose. And that's my opinion when I hear people when they say a dog has to go to one of these puppy training classes and stuff like that and go through training school and stuff like that. Now, our problem is with them is they don't always go to real life experiences. So, yeah, the dog might be in a room with 6 or 7 other dogs or whatever, how many dogs, and it gets on with them particular 6 or 7 dogs or whatever, if you're lucky. They'll walk around in a circle, they'll tell you how to make it sit and stuff like that. The minute they leave that room and go out onto the street with that dog, it's right, totally different environment, different type of dog, different types of people. There's that many different noises, smells, surrounds. That dog won't have a clue. And they sit there and they say, oh, he's been going to puppy training classes, he's been doing these, he's doing really well, he's got a certificate for that. Yeah, it will do. You train a dog in a room, they have to train it exactly the same thing again outside that room in different areas as well. I've been in the most silliest places with my dog training it. Town centres, roundabouts, all sorts of different places. And it never stops. It never stops. And why would you want it? It's just that if you get a dog, you want to spend time with it. And if you ain't got an hour or so in the morning, an hour or so at an evening, I say an hour or so because obviously you've got 15 minutes to train it, feed it, walk it. Don't get one. If you don't think you're going to have that amount of time or don't think you can commit to a dog of any sort, shape or size, don't bother getting one. Dog's not an ornament where you can just put on a mantle and polish it. Having a dog is like having a baby. exactly like having a baby, really. So I think we'll leave it at that for now. You're more than welcome to check me up on Facebook if you want. Some videos and that on there. I'm pretty much new to YouTube and that sort of thing, so just gets my goat a bit when I look about these people and they're on about banning dogs, about banning owners. To me, you should have a license to have a dog, and you should be capable, like a car. You don't just get a car and drive around in it, do you? You have to be capable of using it properly and the likes of. So, dogs should be pretty much the same. It should. It'd stop a good percentage of this, I think. It would. Alright, YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. I'll catch you all another time. Now I've had a bit of a rant, a bit of an opinionated stream or whatever. And we'll catch you on the next time. Find something to rant about, or have a discussion about, or whatever you want to call it. Cheers, bye.